Welcome to the Change Life Destiny podcast series. Are you frustrated with the challenges of navigating our healthcare system? We understand, and that's why we're committed to sharing insights into the latest advancements and approaches that are reshaping healthcare. Join us as we explore the stories of practitioners and innovators who are leading the way toward a healthier future. Let's dive in and learn together. I'm your host, Stephanie, and today we are with this wonderful woman who is doing some incredible things. So, Dr. Remina, please introduce yourself.
Hello. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me on your show. I remember I attended the conference last year, or actually still earlier this year, and I just
Right.
loved it. And I love what
Oh,
you're doing. So it's so needed.
I appreciate that so much. Okay, so go ahead and give us your full name and what are you doing these days?
Yeah, so a little bit about me and how I got here. My full name is Dr. Remina Panjwani. I typically go by Dr. Remina outside of the hospital, and in the hospital, it's formal Dr. P for short.
Great. Good to know. Good to know. Excellent. Excellent. So you are currently working in a hospital. Is that correct?
Got the day job, right? And then I have my entrepreneurial side. Yep.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so why don't we, before we dig into that a little bit deeper, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got here? What was your journey to get to the health space that you're in currently today?
Yes, it was quite a journey. So thank you for letting me have this time to share it. So I am in my family to get a college education. I came from a background of parents that immigrated here from a developing country. So it was a completely different generational lifestyle from what they experienced and then what I had been faced with. So we came to the States for a better opportunity for myself as well as my brother, but I was the first one to experience it all. I didn't know where to find the resources, where to go, what I wanted to do. And I just came across my own journey, my own battles, and it helped me grow in every way. Fast forward, growing up, not only I found tools through joining the military. And yes,
Okay.
and if you see me, I'm a tiny petite woman,
Huh?
but I have a lot of fire in me. So it's drove me into the military and in the Air Force. I was security force deployed. I would say 18 got deployed right out of school. So you
Oh,
can imagine, I know, I mean, your brain, your personality is not even fully developed, but it showed me the world through a different lens. It really put me
mm,
into the war zone and it grew up. I mean, you're 18.
mm.
What's the best way to grow up if you're in a war situation, right?
Sure,
So
sure. My goodness.
it's actually a point I refer to as a turning point in my first part of my life. It not only gave me the financial tools, but it also gave me the resilience, the confidence to pursue what I wanted to do, which was go get an education. And
Mm,
part of that was I didn't be a doctor. I didn't know I wanted to be a doctor, which is unusual coming from my South Asian background, where from the day you're born, you're instilled with, well, you have to go to get educated or you have to be an engineer. I didn't have that tools. I didn't have parents that were even familiar with that. It was paycheck to paycheck survival mode. And so for me to even get to that point was quite a determining factor of how the rest of the the adult years would go. And so I got back in the States after getting deployed and I started taking classes. And fast few more years, I went into Austin, got a nutrition degree. And then of course from there, I got a master's in medical science, went to med school after that. It was great because it was a dream come true. I wouldn't say it was an easy journey through those years, but thankfully with good men building those resources I needed, I survived and made it. Survived multiple war zones, I would say. And I went into residency training at internal medicine residency. And then of course, after I graduated, I became an hospitalist, which is my specialty now. But the second war zone I would like to is COVID. because as soon as I graduated
Right.
and I was a full-fledged attending and I think on the world, COVID hit. And
Wow.
that's talk about another journey where in
Wow.
this sense, you really didn't know what you were walking into, right? You didn't really have as many tools, but I learned a lot there too. And it put me in where I am today. I do being a physician in acute care conventional medicine, which is what the hospital and your typical primary care setup is. It's great, but it's a bandage approach. It's a reactive approach. And
Mm,
I began to see that, especially COVID, where you could
mm,
see, of course, the first strain was quite challenging because even healthy young people too, right? And some of them didn't make it.
sure.
But you
Mm,
saw more often that people who took care of themselves and had more fuel in their tank per se would be able to survive what COVID put them through. And you could
wow.
just tell it's you've had, all these factors that lead you to this metabolic pathway. So they show up as diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, all that. When you throw in COVID or any other diseases that come at you, you don't have much reserve to fight it off. And so I kept seeing
Mm,
that. And eventually I started getting burnt out, as many of my colleagues did. And I really searched deep at that point, and I thought, I went into medicine, yes, to help people, but I see a population that could benefit in prevention sense or even just being proactive. And that's where I went, and I went in functional medicine. So I got an extra certification after that through the Institute of Functional Medicine, Cleveland Clinic. And just loved it. It's filled in the gaps, additional tools, and a different perspective, blending both Eastern and Western medicine because I get to see both and get to use both. And then I thought to myself, you know what? There's not going to be a perfect job. I'm going to create my own. And I'm going to change medicine in a way that it should be and to make it better and find those individuals and companies that feel the same way and we can help each other together. And so then Dr. Remina, that is how my EBA, but my company is called Optimizing Wellness Together. And that's what I do. I started a concierge functional medicine practice focusing on all the lifestyle aspect. And then I realized I have additional tools because philosophy is we're not just a body of like organs. We are mind, body, spirit, and,
mm,
and we have tool to root cause. It's not just symptoms, bandage. And part of that, yes, mind, body, and spirit. In this day of age, everyone is stressed. Everyone has anxiety. But what are the tools that's being missed in conventional medicine? I love to fill in that gap. And I love to bring in my
mm,
wellness workups. And so I expanded with that. I do some on my own. I collab and we can talk in detail if you want on that too. But it
yeah.
just kind of it gives me additional tools to truly help holistically, science-backed way. Yeah. And so then of course that led on to other things to do speaking events and then podcasting. And I get to do it almost every day. So here I am.
That's incredible. Okay, so you are the superhero for all of us that really believe that the allopathic and the functional need to work together. You are paving a way to show that it's okay to have both. And that, in fact, when you have both in one beautiful mind, then you can come up with solutions for each individual. And that's what I know that's what I want as a person. And so that's just fantastic. I love that. I love that. I love that. And I love your vision and that you're wanting to do this and collaborate with others. That is so healthy and so needed. And what we are all about at Changing Life and Destiny, because we know that it takes a lot more than just one of us to operate this beautiful, functional health space that we want to. So what are your in your concierge business, what are some of your favorite technologies or holistic approaches that you like to take?
Oh goodness, there's so many out there.
Yeah.
But I like to focus on things that are simple because when you overcomplicate things, people get overwhelmed. And
Correct.
my favorite modalities is really just getting back to what works. If you look at, for instance, I just mentioned being anxious, right? So
Hmm.
if you look at, there's a big study that's out there. Harvard has the big psychology department, and there's Dr. Palmer.
Hmm.
And he came up, he's a psychiatrist, but he actually is blending both as well, but in the psychiatry aspect. And now papers are coming forward. But if you look at even there, you look at population where you throw in conventional medicine, which is just an medicine, and maybe some talk therapy. That it has a large percentage of a population not even working. And then what you find is medication after medication, side effect, and so forth. Whereas if you
Hmm.
combine the lifestyle, right, just getting back to not eating processed, right? And the way food is made, it's not truly whole anymore. Look at wheat, there's so many fillers, right? You see people popping up with like tolerances, especially gluten. And of
Hmm.
course, when we think about it's grown and all the chemicals that are thrown on top of it, get eating, going back to eating whole foods, increasing your protein intake, having the colors of the rainbow, that does a lot. Add in a sleep amount. Sleep is so effective, right? Lots of
Oh,
repair and right? And then, of course, new exercise, right? The right type of exercise. If you do high intensity, right, that increases certain good hormones and neurotransmitters is BDNF, which increases memory. So those are little hacks that it really does go back to the basic. You don't need a lot of technology to practice all these. I mean, you could get fancy. You could use advanced panels to like biohack your system to further identify and further enhance your longevity and optimal health. But then also going
mhm,
into relationships, right? The relationships, are they supportive? How's your emotional status? And my favorite, going back to that anxiety, yes, all this ties in, but having the modalities, especially working with your nervous system. So if
mhm,
you combine all that, we all hear that fight or flight, right? If you're fight or flight all the time, your sympathetic response, your whole body is going to physiologically be active and eventually burn out. We like to use the marker in functional medicine, cortisol, right? That cortisol stress hormone is tied into the body, right? So if you may feel like you're burnt out, brain fog, your libido's off, your hormones, your male and female hormones are off, your body composition. So all of that ties in this stress response. And so if you could tie
mhm,
it back to what's going to regulate that nervous system and put you to the low parasympathetic, the rest and digest, it starts with, yes, all these stressors. If you live a inflammatory lifestyle, decrease
mhm,
that. But then also simple breath work, meditation, right? Because if
mhm,
you breathe, I love bringing up the vagus nerve, right? That's the longest nerve in the body, and it connects your brain to your gut. And it's an easy way to tap into it by breathing. Breathing a certain circadian cycle, longer breaths out and shorter breaths in. It's so simple. If you start doing that and practicing it, it regulates the nervous system. And then doing other things that help you relax, right? Taking that self
mhm,
care, it truly does go a long way. Be it a meditative practice, doing yoga, sound bath. There's so much data on how sound bath waves your chaotic brain waves on imaging and circles. So if you want to get techie on that, you can. But
right, right.
getting those slows down your brain waves into the theta wave. So you physiologically, but also can see in your brain that in your mood and everything else, it's just such a good balancing method. So keeping it simple, yet it is a complex response, but it starts simple. And then of course, yeah, I mean, I could go on all that, but it's just that's
Yeah,
my
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think that that simplicity is a through line, to be very honest, with a lot of the people that are on our podcast, going back to basics, going back to ways of treating ourselves truthfully. and handling certain situations. Some of the stuff that's outside of our worlds or our bodies, some of the things we cannot control, but how we handle ourselves and what we do, we do have control over. So I think that that's beautiful. What are in your practice utilizing some of these beautiful techniques? What are some of your favorite stories of change that you have seen recently? Because I'm certain that you have compiled quite a list, especially with the practice that you're doing and combining the two sides and all of the sides together. Because I love, love, love that you're talking about emotions. Not enough of us are talking about emotions and how they are connected and where they get stuck and what they can do to our bodies if we do not address them.
Hi, everyone. Roxy here with the Change Life Destiny podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you're loving this episode. Just a quick note to let you know that if you enjoy the types of speakers and the content and the technologies that we're showcasing on this podcast, you will enjoy our Changing Life and Destiny conference, which happens annually in Dallas in April. And we'd love to have you there with us. Learn more at changelifedestiny.com and use the code podcast at checkout to get a very special discount. We hope to see you there on this movement to move our healthcare system to a preventative, proactive model. Now back to the episode.
And so, what are some of your favorite stories that share, signs of how what you're doing is on the right path?
Oh, absolutely. And you are correct on that. And part of that is identifying conventional medicine. Well, it's slowly coming to light where you do need to address that. But I do some of my favorite ones. I love to talk about this is I'll share two. So
Okay.
one that is successful from beginning to current, and one just recent breakthrough. So I had a client. She sustained real traumatic brain injuries. So she had a root issue for having constant headaches. She went through the conventional route, and this was over the course of 3 years. Years at one of the top neurologists, and medication after medication. She's very active. She's in a field where she needs to talk to a lot of people and being in the light of a lot of social media per se. So
Mhm.
she tried, and she noticed nothing was helping after a while. She would have lots of migraine days where she was not able to live her flesh. She couldn't do her job. She wasn't able to she's young. She hasn't even lived a full life. She was in her mid 30s at that time, or late
Mm.
20s, mid 30s. So not even going out to be with friends, social events, being able to go to the be healthy cases. And eventually, I came across paths with her, and I said, let's sit down and actually look at everything. So we did the entire functional medicine approach. We looked specifically going through everything. Her trigger was gluten, and
Mm.
she did not have to have any medication. So I noticed slowly we completely came off of gluten. And when we did the re-challenge test through the elimination diet, she tried something with gluten. Oh, it set her off. And so, like, you know what? This is it. And what's amazing, and this is not woo woo, because I see it a conventional lens as well as functional lens. And it is, it was a gluten that tied in and that triggered her. That was a root cause. And so
Wow.
she did have a lot of underlying trauma. And so when you talk about not getting in touch with your field in your past, it does. And there's so many tools and modalities get to that trauma, and and it no longer can be that trigger, right? So combining with
Wow.
non-traditional therapy along with the traditional medicine approach, she was able to go back to the gym and do high intensity weights, and she's out there. And, and I would think I saw her recently. She said maybe a month is when she's having those headaches, and it's usually like hormone. And then so now we got to work on
Yeah.
that. For the most part,
Sure.
it just shows you night and day that bunch of medications to really just listening, figuring out what the trigger is, and
Mm.
lifestyle approach. So that's that story that I love to share.
Yeah, I
Most
love that.
recently, yeah, right? And most recently, I I had come across this female that was stressed, always stressed, body composition changes. She noticed her hormones were off. Yes, nearing remenopausal phase. However, she was not addressing mama, and she was not
Mm,
taking that time to pause. Just
mm,
even waking up in the morning, it was wake up, look to the phone, go, 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 right? And so your brain is not resting, your hormone, your nervous system, nothing is resting. You're from the time you wake up, you're on fight or flight mode. So
right.
I had her try a sound bath. We had this workshop and she never came sound bowls. And
Mm,
so after that, she came up to me. She said, "Oh, wow, Dr. Remina, I didn't realize I had much stress." That was the first time that my mind was calm. I didn't have to think and I was calm. My
wow.
body is relaxed. And thank you for opening my eyes. And so that was such a beautiful break moment. And
Yeah,
those,
absolutely. I mean, that's an incredible. I know that personally over the last couple of years, and this is something that unless you are going to someone who knows how to ask these questions in some sort of an assessment, you're not going to recognize what it is that maybe you are programmed to do or what you are just habitually doing that is causing that harm. I know for me, I had to focus specifically on the negative, automatic thoughts that were just happening every time I woke up in the morning. And oh my goodness, when I realized well, how much of a difference it made when I was able to adjust those thoughts, made a world of difference in how I started my day and in the stress levels and in my responses to my family. So, thank you for being someone who asks for something like that and then offers solutions for people because I think that this conversation is starting to come around a lot more. And if we can appreciate anything from the pandemic, it is that I think that people are starting, we've said this, I've heard this a lot, but people are starting to really want a different solution and they're waking up a little bit.
oh, wow.
So oh gosh,
Absolutely.
sound bath, it's an incredible thing. And is there something that you suggest, like, for example, if there's someone that is interested in something like this, but they can't make it to a physical sound bowl meditation space, is there something that you do for them?
Yeah, then there are apps that have the sound bowls there, but the frequencies won't resonate. So, in
Right.
that sense, the goal is to relax your mind and your nervous system, right? Most acceptable day is when you first wake up. So, for these people, I try
Mm,
to adjust where they can. So, my pointers would be when you first wake up, find an intentional activity, whether it's if that's what you want to do, whether it's just breathing, laying in bed and just breathing, regulating that nervous system,
mm,
journaling, gratitude before you even reach up to even grab your phone, even if it's 5 minutes, if that's all you have. So
yes.
even starting the day with being to breath work, that helps. And then the
Yeah.
next point is at the end of the day. Even if people are so busy and do the same thing and some apps. So if you're new to meditation too, there's some really cool apps out there you could use and other modalities. But meditation or breath work again goes back to that. So both points of the day, right when you wake up and before you go to bed. Those are the 2 points where you could still get most bang for your buck and regulate your nervous
Yeah.
system. And then eventually when you can go find a place to either meditate, yoga, sound bath, you can do that. But that doesn't mean you don't have any other tools because your breath is always with you. Your brain is always with you, right?
Oh, true. Gosh, can't get rid of those two things, can you? That's incredible. I 100% agree with what you're saying, and thank you for making it so simple, because I think that some people get caught up in the, oh, well, I can't make it to the sound bath, or, oh, I have this and this. There's really not an excuse, because like you just said, we always have our brain, we always have our breath. So there's always a way for us to break the cycle of habit that may not be so healthy for us, right? Okay, so let me ask you another question. And what would you say, because you've already proven to me that there is a space where the allopathic and the functional can work together in one person, right? But
Yeah.
knowing that the entirety of the medical field or the entirety of the functional field cannot do or does not do the same thing that you did, when you're dreaming about the future of healthcare, what is it that comes up? What are your highest aspirations for the future of healthcare?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I see more people are going towards personalized approach. They want
Mm,
that personalized approach in direct care because we know how it is in the healthcare system trying to get in and just getting the standard care. So I believe it's going to become more personalized, getting back to a truly proactive approach and then utilizing all these tools that we have in the functional realm with these advanced labs with AI driven tools too, right? I mean, we now have
right.
I know. I remember we were at Changing Life, we had Brain Tap, you know? So I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many modalities out there that I feel like it's going to bridge and even surpass our current limited system, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I worked for a doctor a long time ago, more than 10 years ago. Actually, it was 10 years ago. Wow. I worked for her, and I noticed that there was a word that was used that stuck with me, and that was compendium. And I really believe that there is nothing wrong with the fact that educational organizations have to create a compendium. They must create something for you to focus your energy and your time into, in order to educate yourself about the medical system, correct? And medicine in general.
Mhm.
So, very few people do what you did, which was to combine both together and really get involved in both together. I don't think there's anything wrong with one person staying within their compendium. But I do think that we can open our minds to working together and reaching across and building bridges in between that allopathic and the functional space like you have, so that more people can work together for the health and well-being of people in general. So I believe that what you did is just this sort of, again, like superhero status of binding that way. But yes, personalized medicine makes sense. Personalized care makes sense, because not every single person is responding, because there's no way that they can, even if they are in the same household and they're, grown up with the same parents in the same environment. There's still differences in between each and every one of us. So that personalization is key. And I, for one, thank you for doing what you are doing. And I'm really excited that you live very close to where I do.
I
Because I'm
know.
going to
I'm
be
so
able to,
excited to do
you know,
some like yeah,
yes,
it'll be great.
yes,
And
yes. That
I'm
one
looking
makes me
forward to
excited.
collabing. It'll be great.
Yes. And so if you're listening to this and you are inspired, just take take the lesson from Dr. Warina, that we can utilize the tools that are around us with the people that are experts in their fields, and really collaborate together so that we can have the best outcome for people. I think that that's what we're here for, right? That's
Absolutely.
right.
And I want us
That's
to
right.
there are some so some of my colleagues too, like in the conventional world, they're like, yeah. yeah, what you're doing makes sense because in medical school, we learned, for instance, like diabetes, or now what we're seeing is more, and even younger people coming into the hospital with full blown liver failure. It's not like they drink
Ah,
alcohol, but it's metabolic, it's lifestyle. And I was talking to my
mm,
specialist colleagues, GI colleague, gastrointestinal, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna." I know it's not like one of those unusual cases we learn about in med school. It's simply metabolic, and we can't do it at this point. But if you put on your internal medicine lens, you know if you go back and decrease that inflammatory stuff, will hopefully reverse because the cause is poor diet. I mean, obesity is such a big issue in the States too. And all
huge,
that is the
huge.
same. Yeah. And if we
Mm,
all together combine what we're good at and help each can slow stop what could be preventable, down the road in the hospital, and people could be
absolutely.
more. Yeah, I mean, longevity is a key, thriving, right? And so I love that,
Right.
like bringing all the right people together to make people live a better quality life.
Yes, absolutely. Like we say, changing your life and changing your destiny, changing what it is that how you can live. Really, it's how you can live.
Yes.
And thrive. I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your passion in this space, and all of the things that you've chosen to do for yourself is helping those around you and helping those that are listening to this podcast that are inspired by what you have chosen to do with your life, which is completely admirable. And like I say, I'm so thrilled that I get the chance to talk to people like you who in my mind are superheroes. So thank you for everything you've done.
Much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Change Life Destiny Show. We hope you found today's conversation enlightening and empowering. Be sure to join us each week for more thought-provoking discussions and inspiring stories. Don't miss out on staying up to date with the latest in healthcare innovation. Subscribe to our podcast and visit us at changelifedestiny.com to explore more about the practitioners, technologies, and how you can take control of your health journey.